Daily Tech News Show is made possible by you, the listeners. Thanks to all of you, including Mike Akins, Norm Fazekas, Chris Allen, and 2 new patrons. Thank Lewis and John for joining the team. Yay! On this episode of DTNS, sending photos to another service is easier than ever, depending on the services, of course. The Vision Pro future is kind of a head scratcher. And what's CNN thinking with its new subscription service? We'll talk about that. This is the Daily Tech News for Thursday, July 11th, 2024. From Studio Animal House, I'm Sarah Lane.
From Columbus, Ohio, I'm Robb Dunewood.
From deep in the heart of Texas, I'm Justin Robert Young.
And I'm the show's producer, Roger Chang.
We have lots of tech stuff to talk about with you today, but let's start with the quick hits. The European Union and Apple have reached a legally binding agreement that will see Apple make NFC, as well as access to iOS features like Face ID authentication and double click to launch, available on the iPhone, for good. The deal also lets Apple avoid an antitrust fine equal to up to 10% of the company's worldwide turnover, which would be around $40 billion, not chump change. Apple also agreed to let users set third-party mobile wallets as their default.
Remember the Ford Capri, the iconic car made famous in the 70s and 80s? Ford is bringing the Capri back, but as a 4-door electric sedan that looks more like a Polestar 2 than the original 2-door pony-style fastback that debuted in 1968. Base and premium models will be available at launch, both termed extended range. The base model is a rear-wheel drive with a single 282 horsepower motor with 390 miles of range. The premium model is all-wheel drive with 2 motors, 335 horsepower, and slightly less range of 368 miles. The Capri will only be available in Europe and starts at 49,400 euros for the base model and 53,000 euros for the premium.
Oh man, I was into this. Europe only, and also not cheap. Oh well.
Not at all.
Yeah. The PC industry appears to be recovering, at least in some ways. Market research firm IDC reports that the PC market grew 3%. That's the second quarter of growth after 7 consecutive quarters of declines. So it's good news. It's marginally good news, but still good news. The turnaround in the global PC market continues to gain speed as hype around AI PCs grow, and enterprise customers are buying new laptops and desktops as well.
WhatsApp Business is changing its per conversation messaging rates, lowering them for utility messages such as order updates and account balance, and raising them for marketing messages like new products and offers. This is an attempt to reduce marketing spam on the platform. Rate changes are country dependent. For example, in India, marketing rates are shifting from 0.0099 cents to 0.0107 cents. That's an 8% increase. And utility conversation rates are going down from 0.0042 cents to 0.014 cents. That is a 67% decrease. New rates go into effect on August 4th for utility rates and October 4th for marketing conversation rates.
The U.S. Department of Energy is now issuing grants totaling $1.7 billion to help electric vehicle manufacturing and assembly sites in 8 states. Those include Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Ohio, Illinois, Indiana, Maryland, and Virginia. This is based on the 2022 Inflation Reduction Act, which pays for those grants. The biggest climate law to date, also covering a broad range of the automotive supply chain, including parts for electric motorcycles, school buses, hybrid powertrains, heavy-duty commercial truck batteries, and electric SUVs. All right, so 3 years after the launch of a tool that allowed iCloud users, Apple iCloud, to move their photos to Google Photos, obviously a competing platform, Google and Apple are jointly launching a new tool that will allow the exact opposite, allowing users to transfer pictures from Google Photos to iCloud. You might say, why would I want to do that? Maybe you don't, but maybe you've got a new iPhone for the first time type thing. This is something that it's a nice offer from either company. The tool is part of the Data Transfer Initiative, or DTI, and it will roll out over the next few weeks. weeks. The DTI is a 2023 collaboration between Apple, Google, and also Meta, formed to align with the EU's regulations on moving data between gatekeepers. Those are obviously big companies, big tech, as defined by the Digital Markets Act, or DMA. Once the tool goes live, users will be able to initiate the process using Google's tool called Takeout. This is good, is it not?
Well, it's the law in Europe, at least, or I should say the European Union. And I think that's a big reason as to why Apple and Google are working together here. So the DTI is actually an offshoot of the advanced data. Actually, it is the open source data transfer project, which came years before. There just wasn't a lot of traction on it because there wasn't a law telling these companies that they had to interact with each other. But now they have to. So it's it's a long time coming, but it's not so much that they are trying to be pro consumer and pro their customers. It's just that the law in Europe said that, hey, you must make these things talk to each other and allow people to easily move data from one to the other. And that's why I believe that this has actually happened.
I also think that the utility of locking people into these ecosystems isn't what it once was thought to be, kind of like 10 years ago. There's so much that we upload to so many different platforms. Not one of us are totally agnostic to one platform just by way of all the things that we use and how each company is good at different things. But also, let me just add a forward-looking thing here. I don't know the point, aside from just being obsessed with making sure that you have all of your photos in one place, to have them on one service other than or compared to the other. But I do think that going forward, especially with AI tools, then having a lot of your own photos up there are going to be really, really, really powerful. Not only are you going to be able to search them better, but you're probably going to be able to do more interesting stuff with all the data of your memories that are all uploaded there. And I think that this tool is going to be interesting going forward.
I think you're completely right in theory, but I'm like, what am I doing with my collection of photos from 2013, for example?
That's my point. Is like, I think this is so much of the story of where we are in tech right now, that we have been recording our lives, recording our steps, recording so many metrics about our lives with little to no idea of what to do with it. And we are now at a point where not only is the computation there, but also the AI tools are there. So you could probably do really, really interesting things with a lot of this long-term data. And I think that photos are a great example of it, because I'm with you, Sarah. I have no idea what I am doing with all these photos, except iOS now giving me a little token,
memory, yes,
that shows me memories.
Yeah.
I like that until it shows me one that I hate, at which point I tell it, please never show that again. And it just finds every version of that photo that I've ever taken.
So, Justin, to your point, if I could get all of my images that are everywhere, because I've, since the 90s, I've got digital photos literally in every service that you can imagine.
Yes.
So the problem is, man, where's this picture at? I remember the picture. I remember taking it. I just can't remember where I put it. So if I could get everything into just one place, and then, as I said, to your point, use AI to help me find that, go find a picture of my oldest kid when she was 4 at the park. That would be much easier than right now. I just miss those memories because I'm not willing to spend a half hour trying to go remember where I stored the picture at.
But even beyond that, what's my favorite meal based on all the photos of food that I have taken? Where do I look the happiest on vacation? There's a lot of stuff that when you have this level of data to leverage against it, you could do interesting stuff.
Which is, I'm sort of like, I know what my favorite meal is. I don't need history to tell me that. But yeah, those are good examples of things that you can use photo data to paint a picture of, an era of your life, for example. Maybe you just went through a breakup and you're like, you know what? What's all the stuff I used to like? I'm doing new things now. This also reminds me that, and we were talking about this in our pre-show, Flickr which
Yeah.
is a photo storage service that many of us have used, and some of us continue to use. I stopped paying for Flickr Pro some time ago. So, once every couple of months, the company, warns me like those photos are going away. Those photos don't live anywhere else, as far as I know.
Yeah.
I mean, they might be like in I don't know, like a camera battery somewhere behind me, but I don't think so. That's why I used Flickr in the first place. So stuff like this is, listen, if you care about data, and certainly, photo data is some of the most important data that a lot of us have. And we're all digital at this point, save for a few of you who are still analog. I think having more options about sending your data elsewhere, always a good thing.
If you're analog, how are you listening to this?
Yeah.
So guys,
We're on the radio, Justin.
No.
Didn't know you
So,
realized that. Yeah.
So earlier today, I was reading an interesting article, and it basically was talking about the industry market research firm IDC saying that the Vision Pro, Apple's biggest new product in years, won't cross the 500,000 devices sold mark in 2024. To be fair, Apple has always referred to its mixed reality headset as a developer device, not generally intended for the average consumer. But the company has yet to sell 100,000 units of these in any single quarter since the Vision Pro has been released. Apple will sell a cheaper version of the Vision Pro next year, expected to be roughly half the price of the current version. But Francisco Geronimo, vice president at IDC, says the Vision Pro's success, regardless of its price, will ultimately depend on the available content. Now, I am no Apple. I'm not steeped in Apple's ecosystem, but I do know that Apple tends to sell a lot of devices that they sell a lot of devices of. So my question for you, Sarah, because I know you spent a lot of time with the Vision Pro,
Sure.
do you think that with a steep price cut, and when there is more content or applications for the Vision Pro, that it will be a device that more people will buy, not necessarily like the iPhone or regular AirPods, but could it be something like the AirPod Max, where quite a few people get it, just not a lot of people get it? Or would it be more something like the Mac Pro, to where just a few folks get it, but those who do just absolutely love and rave about it?
Yeah, I mean, Mac Pro is a good example just because it's so price prohibitive to a lot of people. Like, I want a Mac Pro, but like, do I really need it? Do I have the money for that right now? No. Both answers are no. Vision Pro, obviously, I got it because it was a unit that we were buying for Apple Vision Show, so that I could talk about it with authority. Some authority anyway. But otherwise, no, I don't think this is a consumer product at all. I don't think anybody really thinks that. I think it's either a developer product or something that you buy because you want to be, first in line, or you just have disposable income. All those things can be true at once. What I do think would make this a consumer product, and I've said this about the Oculus Quest, Meta Quest, for years now, is you just need that one killer app. Just the one. The one where you go like, oh, I want to put this on. I want to. It's not cumbersome. It doesn't feel weird on your face. You want to go in there and do the thing. In my case, exercise apps. Just the one, Supernatural. That was the one where I was like, oh, this is fun. I love this. I want to do this every day. Like, I can't wait to go back in and do it, kind of thing. And I didn't feel that way for years until that one app just made me think, okay, I got it. I get it. And sure, like, my face looks weird when I take off the headset, and Apple Vision Pro is no different really. And people complain that it's, heavy, and all that stuff that's all true. But when you get the one killer app and the price comes down, and that's also an important part of this, I think, that's where you really get somewhere with the consumers.
But the price has to come down and the experience has to stay the same. And that's probably not going to happen, at least not immediately. And when it comes down, it's got to come down a hell of a lot from where it is right now, because the one killer app device is something that you might pay $1,000 for. Maybe at the high end.
Yeah.
Let's
just to be like, ooh, VR.
Let's dispense with this fiction that the Apple Vision Pro is a developer device. All right. I don't care what they said. This is like when an artist's album flops and they say, well, that one was just for me. Then you should have kept it in your house. If this was a developer device, then send it to developers. Don't roll it out like a consumer product and pretend like this is your gigantic step into an entirely new mixed reality field. You made big technical strides. It was a flawed product that was way too expensive, that nobody that I know that has it picks it up on a daily basis. For over $3,000, it needs to be a MacBook killer, and it certainly wasn't. The only thing that it's killed is its own projections for what it might eventually sell. I think that this is a product that needs a full redesign. And if I were Apple, I would say, let's put that one in the closet for right now. Let's take a look at this and
how
from
would
the
it be
ground up.
redesigned? I mean, it's listen, I'm they're just off camera right now, but I'm looking at my Quest and my Vision Pro next to each other. I mean, they are similar, but Apple has the vastly superior hardware version of this. But people don't care.
Because you need a thing to do. The big thing that I was waiting on with Apple Vision Pro, and I had high hopes for it, was that it could be a device that would rival my MacBook. And it's not. Nobody I know that has used it has said anything close to it, and the market has spoken. So if you're redesigning it, then do whatever you need to do to key in on what you want it to be. If you want it to be a productivity device, then figure out a way to make it a productivity device. If you want it to just be the best way that you can experience movies and TV, then you got to get the battery up and you got to make sure that it's comfortable to wear for an hour plus, because that's what binging is.
So here's a question. Are we there yet? Is virtual reality, is it enough of a thing that regardless of what Apple does, that these things could be a hit? You know, what comes first, the hit device, or, oh, wow, the hit application to where, oh, I need these things because of that app? I think it might be the latter. And I just don't know that we have any apps that are there yet that would make me want to go spend this kind of money on a device.
I mean, listen, the first time I put on a headset, it was the Meta Quest 1, Oculus Quest at that point. And I was sort of like, wow, this is crazy. I mean, it's a little blurry, but like, ooh, looks like I'm, in Hawaii, or, that kind of thing. That novelty wears off pretty quick. And then you're like, what am I doing in here? And again, that one killer app that makes you feel like, oh, this is a place. This is fun. I'm enjoying myself. I can play Tetris. That's just something that I like also inside of VR. Tetris, in fact, very, very good game. But if you don't have that, you just you look around and go, that's cool. Okay, I'm going to take this off now. Apple doesn't have that. And even if Apple supports certain apps that support things that people like me already like, it doesn't have any killer app that sets it apart from the rest.
It's got to be, again, it's either you are consuming or you are producing. Is this a thing that I put on every single day to answer my emails and to write and compose or edit or Photoshop, whatever? Or is it a thing that I veg out on my couch? They sold it as something that did both, and that's why it cost $3,000. Turns out it did neither, and nobody's buying it.
Yeah, $3,500. Well, if you want to stay up to date in the fast-moving world of artificial intelligence, we talk about it a lot on the show. But trust me, I know. But you should definitely check out AI Named the Show, because they really do a deep dive on this every week. Each week, Tristan Jutra and Tasia Custodi wade through the hype, keep you informed about what really matters in AI. Got a lot of news coming at us from all angles these days. Some of you say like, AI, I mean, what does it all mean? Well, AI Named the Show is trying to make sense of that. Subscribe at ainamedtheshow.com.
CNN's in the news. Variety reports that before the end of the year, CNN will launch a new subscription service on CNN.com. This is according to two memos released by company CEO and chairman Mark Thompson. CNN will also roll out two new ad-supported services, one based on CNN's original series and the other based on Spanish language service. So, Justin, can you explain what the heck CNN is doing right these days, because I have no clue.
No. I mean, I can't, but I can tell you what they say they're doing. CNN is like many aging media platforms trying to figure out where they fit in. The number one way that CNN made money in the past was by way of the cable bundle. That is continuing to deteriorate, and CNN has not adequately put themselves in a position where they could take advantage of a digital only offering in the same way that MSNBC has, Fox News has, at least in the American sphere that they are in. Many might remember that CNN Plus was their digital only offering that was going to have a bunch of different exclusive content. And then the company got sold. Discovery bought into Warner Brothers, and the new management spiked it because they thought it was going to be a gigantic boondoggle. Now they're going to do something a little bit slimmer, but mostly this is not about a bold new future. That is a hand waving that they are doing to cover for the fact that they are firing 100 people. I can't imagine that that's going to be the last of it. They are in a big year now for ratings with the presidential election. And once that's done, who knows what's going to happen to CNN?
Now, what was it called? CNN Plus? CNN has already tried to do this.
Yeah, and then they spiked it.
Yeah, and at the time when it launched, it was touting original series as a big part of this. You know, you get, Anthony Bourdain and
the other thing,
all the other things,
all the great hits,
right, right.
The other guy.
Yeah, I mean Anderson Cooper. You know, there's certain things that if you're a CNN loyalist, you'd be like, oh, okay, that's cool. It didn't go anywhere though.
No,
and it was scrapped
died immediately.
It was soon after. So that's why this kind of surprises me. Is like, I mean, is this just like a Hail Mary desperation move?
No, I think this is a new way of looking at it. They were going to put a lot of time, money, and effort into CNN Plus, essentially building a separate team that would be operating a whole new, different version of things. I think this is going to be a little bit more like what Fox does, where they have very lightweight, cheap content that they can then put out on their platform, and maybe have certain exclusivity windows where, you'll get Sean Hannity show, for Fox's example, you'll get Sean Hannity show immediately as it airs. So maybe you could do a similar thing with Jake Tapper or something on CNN. But really, again, this is about reshaping the budget of CNN, how much that it takes in and how much they can squeeze out of it, which leads me to this, a thing that I said when that merger first happened. I would not be shocked if this is the first step of many to get CNN a little leaner so they could be sold, because this is not a core element of what David Zaslav likes to do. There has been a lot of questions of exactly how up for sale the entire kit and caboodle is. And if you are an Amazon or an Apple, you got a lot of money. Maybe CNN is a brand. CNN is a brand, no matter what you think of it, that says news. If you want news, especially live news, CNN is a brand that matters. I still believe that tagged on to something else, it could be a good tile on that screen.
So here's my thought. If they're going to do that, if they're trying to sell it, they need to do something pretty darn quick, because their ratings are tanking. I just saw recently the CNN drew just 83,000 viewers aged 25 to 54 during the week of May 13th through the 19th. And that's during prime time. That's 8 to 11. It's the lowest rated week since 1991.
1,000 or a million?
1,000.
Jeez.
So 83,000 viewers. Now that's a lot of people that, if you were to look at it as a live stream, that's still a lot of folks, but compared to their competition, they're getting trounced. And you've got to go back to when I was a freshman in college to see when they've had ratings that bad. So, I know for me, I don't watch a lot of CNN, but most of it that I do watch is not on CNN. Most of it is on YouTube clips of what happened on CNN. And there was a reason for me to go take a look at it. Their ratings are just they're just crazy. When Zaslav took over, they made some, fired some folks that were popular on the network, and they just never recovered since then. So I don't know what's going on, but something's going to have to give at some point. Clearly, they're doing layoffs, and as you said, Justin, I think much more of that might come in the not too distant future.
But all of this too is it's a bit of a head scratcher to me. So, for example, I don't pay for cable anymore. I haven't cable television for I don't know. I mean, the better part of a decade. Or even longer than that. But I pay for YouTube TV, which is essentially the exact same. CNN, a part of that. If it wasn't, I'd be like, where is CNN? I mean, that's just something that you assume is going to be bundled into your package. So if I were to say, nope, I'm doing everything a la carte, so nothing like a YouTube TV cable alternative, but I can, I don't know, maybe pay for one of these, if I care about CNN and I like their news, and that's obviously a personal decision, that would make sense. It doesn't make sense to me now because I'm like, where do you get it? Unless the channel just went away and became some sort of like a la carte thing floating in the wind.
Yeah, I think a lot of the question of where we get our news and where we watch, what matters in live is a huge part of this question. I do think that the brand CNN will survive. Part of the reason why their ratings were in the toilet are because they've never given in to the idea that they want very, very specific, strident editorial voices in their primetime slots in the same way that MSNBC and Fox News has. And that's kind of what we want. We don't just want somebody doing the news. We want somebody who's stridently telling us what they believe.
A particular voice means a lot. Yeah, for a lot of folks. Well, your voices mean a lot to us. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com is where to send those emails. And in fact, let's check out one now. This one comes from Tim, the DBA from Buzz Out Loud days. Hi, Tim. Glad you've been around for a while. He says, on Monday's DTNS, Chris Ashley extolled the virtues of using commercial-grade tech in some consumer situations. I have to agree. Our house is about 3,000 square feet. 3 years ago, we realized our old Wi-Fi access points weren't covering it reliably or completely. Adding more Wi-Fi access points meant adding more networks that was too complex for our liking. A mesh network of the size that we wanted was expensive, $600 around that at the time, and also feature limited. Tim says, our resident network administrator, my wife, came to the rescue. She researched commercial grade Wi-Fi access points and settled on a product from Omada, which provides multiple separate networks on both the 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz bands. We bought 4 access points for about $300, the cost of one high-end consumer router. Network setup, straightforward, easy to configure the channels so the networks don't interfere with each other, gives us great performance, and we chose to configure 3 networks as follows. Fast, that's the network for gaming and video consumption. Strong, that's the longer range network that reaches outside the house. And Guest, an isolated network for family, friends, and IoT devices. Tim says this is the same kind of Wi-Fi access that one would find in a commercial office building, where you can visit any part of the facility and remain on the same network, although you're bouncing between access points as you move around. Thank you, Chris and DTNS, for bringing this idea to more people.
Well, thanks to Tim, the DBA, for that email. And thanks to you, Justin Robert Young. Why don't you tell us what you got going on?
Well, friends, I am heading out in the spirit of independent journalism. I am a credentialed member of the press for both the Republican National Convention and the Democratic National Convention, and I will be going to both. First Milwaukee next week and then Chicago next month. If you'd like to support that, head on over to our Politics podcast. And if you'd like to support it on Patreon, it is takepoliticsseriously.com.
He's doing good work, everybody. Support him if you can. And thanks for supporting us. Also, patrons, you know who you are, and you can stick around for the extended show, Good Day Internet. I'm going to talk about my first Waymo ride that I took yesterday, and I brought my dog along for it, and I will tell you all how it was. It was a lot of fun. Hilarity ensued.
You can also catch the live show Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 2000 UTC. Find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live. We'll be back tomorrow talking about how food companies are using AI with Michael Wolff and Lynn Peralta.
The DTNS family of podcasts, helping each other understand.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.